What up, though, Detroit? This is your host, Umelo, founder of DevOps Detroit, and we're doing a special thing today where we're launching a podcast and we're having two awesome guests and two awesome co hosts who will be introducing themselves and discussing certain things that they do in tech because as you know that we are a tech based organization and we are a tech community trying to bring tech people and tech enthusiasts together in Detroit. So let's start off with the young awesome powerhouse lady. Please introduce yourself.
All right, my name is Kayla Williams, and I currently have a Bachelor's of Science in Information with a concentration focus in user experience, and I also do have a Master's in Cybersecurity,
Okay.
and I'm currently IT Business Analyst. That's me.
Yep. And then she's not only does she do that, but she's also part of Nesby. And I love her to just talk a little bit about what Nesby's about as well.
Yeah, so NSB is also known as National Society of Black Engineers, which is essentially a space for Black professionals who are in STEM, want to connect with other folks in STEM, and it's just very open to folks. And it's just a mix of learning about different professional development skills or wanting to network with other people in the same space. So overall, it's just an open space.
Okay. Okay. And then I know you do some things with DIA as well. Or could you share a little bit about that too?
Yep, I'm also on the board for the Founders Junior Council at the DIA or Detroit Institute of Arts. And essentially, this is a auxiliary group that is focused on young professionals up to the age of 40 with the interest of learning about art or just being art enthusiasts, just liking art. So it's just an open space for people to gather in different events or also connect with other people who have a similar interest.
Okay. Okay. So she's a really community activist right now, and love her to be a part of this. And we're honored to have her here co-hosting and also as a guest. And now we'll pass the baton to young, awesome, genius,
All right,
tech.
all right, all right. Genius.
expert.
That's a stretch, man. Come on
It's
now.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. So introduce yourself.
Yeah. My name is Bryant Dumas Jr. I've been in tech for about three and a half, going on 4 years next year. I did the traditional route, right? I went to the University of Michigan Dearborn. There I studied cybersecurity and information assurance. I joined the fraternity Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated while I was there as well. And right now, I work as a network automation engineer. So a lot of my work aligns with it's killing two birds with one stone. So I'm a developer on one end, and I'm a network engineer on the other. And so my day to day is supporting an application that we're helping automate almost 10,000 devices daily. Um, yeah, that's kind of me in a nutshell. Outside of work, I am also part of DevOps Detroit. I work as a cloud strategist. So right now, I'm helping a young lady with her studies for the AWS Cloud Practitioner, and also just creating lesson plans for future cohorts in the future.
Oh wow, doing a lot of stuff. Doing a lot of stuff. So the purpose of this episode, we're going to talk about something I think was dear in some of the people's hearts, where we're talking about balancing your career, like balancing your 9 to 5, along with like improving your skills and upskilling. So I guess I'm gonna start with you, Bryant. Like from your experience for like the past years of your experience, there's the mythology of like once you get in, it's just smooth sailing. You
hmm
just that's it. Uh, would you confirm that's true, or would you say that's a myth?
No, it's definitely a myth. You get that first IT job, that big boy job, big girl job, whatever you want to call it. You're not set. I always say tech is a volatile field. Yes, you can get paid well, but you still have to constantly be upskilling, or you'll be left behind. I'm always a big advocate of you know studying for certifications even while working, or just finding ways you can own different processes while you're working, whether it's a new dev cycle, it's a new application feature, whatever it may be. You got to make strides while you're in that position because I mean everyone is gunning for those positions, right? It's definitely not this is definitely not the field where you get that one position and you just stay steady.
So I guess any one of you guys can like chime in on this, but like how many hours after work would you say in a week that you put like learning and studying and improving, and why do you do that?
I would say at minimum a few hours a week. I think for me, I'm just more so dedicated to consistently learning, probably just from always witnessing how layoffs can happen at any time.
Okay.
I've seen it, multiple cuts happen, right? Just in the tech department
Mm-hmm.
at my past companies. And then also I've experienced that as well. So I know there's so many times where sometimes it really takes time to get there and find a job. And then it's all about what is that company currently looking for at that moment and if you fit in or not. So I think it's really important to really always just consistently be learning and just kind of being prepared for any particular position that may or may not be popular at that time or
Mm-hmm.
part of the budget of that company at that time.
So when you say part of the budget, like what do you mean?
So I know sometimes companies may say, hey, we need to cut costs, right? And then they may make assumptions in terms of what may or may not be part of that. Sometimes there may be cuts in middle management.
Okay.
I've seen that where there's a lot of middle management cuts, or sometimes higher management because they may look at, for example, someone's making $200,000
Mm-hmm.
versus I might as well keep it entry level and then make it $70,000 and I will just give them more work, right? So
Yeah.
it's just kind of offset the costs. So I've seen a lot of different variations.
Okay, so I guess what I'm curious for you all, what do you all do to when you're learning process? Like, because I'm sure people are curious, like, oh, learning, what does that mean? So, what does learning entail for each of you?
Yeah, I can elaborate. I'm very traditional and like I like structure. So learning for me consists of finding some type of course with some type of structure and just going through it. And really just and when I say going through it, I mean not speed racing through it, just day to day consistent. Even just an hour per day, especially during the week, and then you bump it up during say the weekends, right? When during the evening. I definitely say learning looks like that for me in terms of writing down notes, but also the hands-on portion of whatever you're learning. I think that's really huge in tech. The theory is great when learning some of these concepts, but you got to apply them because that's what you'll be doing within the field.
Okay. Do you have anything to add on?
I would say more so for me, I agree with the structure as well, like a good structure. I also am a visual person. So I like looking at videos. If I'm in the middle of watching something and it doesn't make sense to me, I like to Google and look up things to see if there's like a diagram or something that can make things make more sense. So that's how I prefer to study.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I definitely agree with what you guys are saying about just like I guess putting in that extra time. I guess I'm kind of curious though, with all the time they put, like, how do you avoid burnout?
Ooh, that's a great question. I think it depends on what line of work you're doing and then also what you're studying. So I'll give you an example. At my prior job, um, there's something in tech called on call, where you are supporting the business. For me, with network infrastructure and making sure there's no outages. So those are weeks where they can be intense, they can be hectic, where you can have outages throughout the day. Those are weeks that I did not study because that would lead to something like burnout. You're dealing with getting paced all day and then you're going to turn around and study. That doesn't really, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That's a recipe for disaster. So just being very pragmatic of when I'm going to study throughout the week. Like if I have a big dev cycle where they have to push a bunch of code, I'm not studying that day. So just being weary of my own work schedule and how I want to work around that in terms of, hey, I'm only going to study maybe a couple days a week, maybe like a Friday or a Wednesday when it's not too hectic. And that's how I've been able to avoid just regular burnout.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's a good point. Yeah, I can speak to that as well. I have an experience where I had a previous job where it was pretty much on call, consistent, and it was very demanding at that time. And I recall studying for grad school at the same time. So I think the biggest thing is self care, making sure you really talk to other people you're comfortable with,
Mm-hmm.
maybe just really finding things that can help calm you, whether it's yoga, meditation, or some people are prayers, whatever that looks like for that person. But to your point, it's also very important to look at yourself and say, hey, how much time can I contribute this week versus another week? And I think also reminders to give yourself grace and knowing
Hmm.
that some weeks are heavier than others, and it's okay. It's just part of being human.
Okay. So I'm gonna delve a little deeper and get to the nitty gritty and get really personal with you all. So I'm very curious because I know you talked about your background and you talked about your background.
Hmm.
So why did you all, I guess, go the direction of tech and the direction of the field that you're in?
Hmm.
And then I'll have a follow up question after that.
Yeah, I'll go first. So my tech journey actually, now that I think about it, it began in high school. So the high school I went to, they had a like vocational program. I don't know the right term for it, but they had like a secondary school you can go to like junior and senior year, where you can pick up other skills outside of what you learn in your regular courses. And the course I picked was computer networking. So I was exposed to like CompTIA certs, Microsoft certs, um, when I was like a junior, senior in high school, and that just sparked my interest, and that led me down the path of networking. That took me to internship, which I had a mentor who taught me networking, and I got my CCNA, which is a pretty notified certification for networking, and that has actually pretty much what has led me down the path of networking to the.
But why'd you get your CCNA again?
So I got my CCNA. My mentor, shout out to him, man. I had a decent mentor at my internship, and he was a network engineer, and he actually prompted me to go down that path of, back then it was the CCENT, which was like the prerequisite of the CCNA, and then I got my CCNA my senior year of college at Michigan, and so he pretty much just sparked the interest, and I kind of just ran with it, and it was good because I can combine the theory and the practical interning at the place I was interning.
Okay, so do you feel like it was helpful for you?
I would say that was the catalyst to my career.
Okay.
So
And you got that, was it in university or out of university?
in university.
Ooh, wow.
Yep.
That's a game changer. That's
Yep.
huge.
Yep.
So like would you recommend if someone was in university to try to get like certs?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so I'll give you guys an example. When I got my cert, I think I had an internship offer for a couple months to AWS, as like a support associate. But it helps you stand out because the courses are great, but if you're not learning outside of the courses, then you're pretty much wasting money, in my opinion. If
When
you
you
go,
say courses.
the traditional college courses they
Okay,
give you,
so okay, university classes.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay, so the degree.
the degree, yeah.
Okay.
I'm a big proponent of learning outside of the degree, even though yes, you're paying a load of money to be there to take the courses,
Mhm.
but showing your future employers that you can take that extra initiative and go out and learn outside of the coursework is really what gets you noticed.
I would like to know what other certifications do you have?
Um, so beyond the CCNA, I have my Security Plus, I have my AWS Solutions Architect, I have my AWS SysOps certification, I have my AZ 900, and currently I'm working on my AWS Networking Specialty certification.
AWS Advanced Networking.
Yeah,
This guy's a powerhouse.
yeah.
Never stops learning. Uh, so what made you get those certs, and do you feel like it's helped you in work, or just is the knowledge helped you in your career?
I would say the knowledge has helped me in my career, because you understand why certain things are done within an organization. So CCNA is really good for on-prem environments where companies have their own data centers. The cloud certifications I mentioned, they're good for understanding why a corporation would move their workloads to the cloud. And so having that understanding, you can understand why the business makes those decisions, and it makes you a better engineer because now you understand the impact of those changes and why things need to be done the way they need to be done. And just having that general knowledge, it just makes you more versatile.
Okay. So my question for anyone who would like to answer, would you say that there are some weekends that you might have sacrificed in order to learn, in order to grow in what you're doing, or would you say no, you don't need to do that?
Personally, I always like to study during the week. Weekends are harder for me. Very much. That's from a social aspect, right? I like to do
Oh
things.
yeah.
I like to find things that's relaxing for me. For me, I'm more so setting like I have a time frame. Monday through Friday after work, that's my time. But evenings, I give my time that just to do like socialize,
Okay.
relax, whatever. That's just my time.
Yeah.
But if I'm in the mood for it, that's different. But
Ooh, okay. Okay. So, what certification do you have?
so currently, I have the Security Plus.
Okay. Okay. So, what made you get the Security Plus?
So I kept getting a lot of different feedback and opinions, essentially that certs matter and that the masters need to carry weight in addition to the certification, just to kind of show you have more knowledge and just show you understand certain concepts. So that's what finally pushed me to it. Also, at that time, I was laid off, so I had more time, and I just said, you know what, this is the time just to go for it and upskill a little bit more.
Okay. That's pretty awesome. So, what about you?
Um, in terms of work
What?
life.
Yeah. What did you feel like you had to make some sacrifices?
Oh yeah. I think back in my college days, I definitely made that sacrifice. A lot of people who know me, I was definitely in the books. And then even now, I definitely do still make that sacrifice, but I'm not going as hard as I was in school, if that makes sense. Because
Okay.
now I got
Yeah.
the 9 to 5
Yeah.
on top of everything
Yeah.
else. So yeah, like weekends, but then too, I just like studying. So like I'll just do it at random times that I feel like I'm in the mood to do it. So it's just one of those things where it's like I don't necessarily feel like it's a sacrifice sometimes. I feel like it's just because I want to do it and learn more. I guess it depends on how you look at it, in my opinion. But definitely, yeah, weekends for sure. I'm like studying at maybe 8, 9 o'clock, depending on like if there's something else going on that weekend. But yeah, I definitely make the time.
Okay. Um, I think there's something that you said I'd like you to kind of like delve into, where you say with like university time, you really studied a lot.
hmm
So I'm kind of curious. What did you say that you had to learn more out of college or in college?
That's a great question. So my degree program, it was cybersecurity, but for those who are in that degree program or CS program, it's very similar to the traditional computer science degree in terms of general courses, programming courses, but then there's a couple security courses sprinkled, hence the cybersecurity degree. And the university does a good job of exposing you to things like databases, networking, data structures, forensic science. Um, but for me to dive deep into just one specific concentration, even though you can have a concentration in college, right? I still had to do the certification to really get deep into what I wanted to do. So I
That's a
definitely
very
say,
correct thing to say.
yeah,
Just said that the information in college is a little outdated.
yeah, it's a little outdated. It's a little outdated. I
Yeah,
can't sugarcoat it.
yeah,
By the time
yeah.
you come out of
Very
school,
PC. Like, come on, man.
yeah, you'd be like, huh? This is yeah. But I do want to be on this point that the fundamentals matter. So yes, a lot of the some of that stuff is outdated, but they do give you a base in fundamentals, and that's going to carry you more than learning the most latest cert or the newest tool.
So I guess the question now, what is the fundamentals?
I would say the fundamentals in tech, there, in my opinion, there's about four domains. It's networking, compute, storage, and security. Those are in my opinion, are the main domains that comprise of the fundamentals. And so networking would be learning things about routers, switches, firewalls. When a packet gets forwarded to a router, what is happening behind the scenes? There's a layer 2 rewrite. It gets forwarded by destination address. Even with security, like least privilege, things like permissions. So there's definitely a college gives you a good base, in my opinion. So it goes over those fundamental concepts, and then it's almost like it's your job to take that next step and go deeper. Yeah.
I love that. That's pretty awesome. That's really awesome. So, like, what about you and your journey? From because I know you talked about a couple of layoffs or going from, I guess, one position to another position. From what you've seen, what would you say you've learned about yourself, and what would you say are some skills you've accumulated over that time?
Good question. I think over time, see, I've been in a lot of different roles and it's sort of varied from each other a little bit. But I think the biggest thing I learned was how to take whatever skill sets I do have and how to make it transferable or apply to any other roles I'm applying for.
Mm,
Also, to be a little bit more flexible and open, right? Sometimes you learn of certain titles or certain jobs in a college setting, but it may vary from company to company, department to department, right? They may look different from each other. And I think just being open to learning about other roles in the company just to see may or may not pique your interest. Um,
I mean, like, you was cooking. I was just like listening. I was just in your world. We was just living in it. Honestly, I think that's pretty dope. So, like, what are some of the positions that you've held, if you don't mind talking about it? Not the
yes.
companies, just the positions.
Yeah. So positions I have been in IT analyst, business technologist associate,
Hmm.
a technical product owner, and an IT business analyst. If you want to count internship, I was an iOS software developer.
Okay.
Um, those are some of the roles I've been in.
Okay, and then remind everybody like your background, your what you went to school for.
Yeah, so my bachelor's was essentially focused on user experience, and then my master's was focused on cybersecurity.
Okay, so what made you do the user experience in cybersecurity?
So at that time, user experience. So originally, I started off in computer science, but I originally did not like that particular program for me personally because I'm more of a people oriented. I wanted to solve problems, understand how to do those things. And then UX at that time stood out more because it was all about how to understand the products they're using. Why do they may or may not like the products they're using? What is wrong with the functionality? So I wanted to dig deeper into that side of things from like the research and understanding people. So I thought it was a nice way to combine people and technology. And then I was also really big on an accessibility. So I just really wanted to understand that. But funny enough is I always had interest in cybersecurity. But made me finally get into cybersecurity was because again I like solving problems. I like to constantly always have to learn something, figure something out new, right? And cyber being so broad, you almost can never really go wrong. And also just thinking about if we're being honest, it's like job security,
Okay.
right? So needing that big enough of a rung to if one role is eliminated, it's no longer relevant, you can learn something else and pick up something else and still be in that field.
Okay, it's pretty dope. So it's dope you guys came from traditional backgrounds, but it's like you're doing a little bit different from what you studied. So I guess like one of the things you've been in multiple positions. Are they all similar in roles and tasks, or are they different? I heard technical product owner. I heard business analysis. I heard IT an analyst. So Yeah, I think that's pretty dope.
Yeah. To answer your question, I think there's some tasks that's similar, but then there's some things that's different. But also, you have to keep in mind every company does things very differently, right?
Yeah.
A business analyst might look different at one company versus at another company.
Okay.
It comes down to what processes, what products you are using, just that entire thing is can always vary company to company. But a lot of the roles I have been in was more so integrated with me in the middle, dealing with people, how to help be involved in that process. So that's the main thing I would say. They're all similar in that aspect of kind of being that liaison to like the stakeholders.
Okay.
That's yeah.
So I'm kind of curious, how did you learn how to do your positions?
Mm.
How did I learn to use those positions?
Yeah, yeah, because it's not something that you went to necessarily school per se for. So, like,
Um,
how did you start learning to be well at what you do?
Got it. So okay, so when I knew at one point I didn't want to be a coder. So I was like, I need to find something. I still like tech, but I don't know what I want to do.
Mm,
So I had a mentor at the time, and he pretty much said, "Hey, we have all these roles. It doesn't require coding. You can just be an IT analyst." So that's how I got to that first role. So I had a mentor who brought me on, and that's where I started learning, just really from being hands-on and kind of shadowing people and just getting more hands-on with projects and just kind of going from there. So that's essentially how I got into it. How I got good at the roles, I would say your biggest thing is it's okay not to know everything. It's okay to ask
Thanks.
questions.
okay.
I'm big on saying, hey, can you help me out? I don't know everything. I like to work with people who may have been there a little bit longer or who may have more experience with me because a lot of times they know things and have really good things to share, right? So that's essentially how I learned, even though each role is so different from each other, but that's how ended up getting good at it, essentially. I know it's very different, but at the same time, there were some things that were applicable for what I did learn in school, but I think a lot of it's just learning on the fly, to be honest with you.
So I think that's really cool. What I'm receiving from what you're telling me. So, like, there are like tech positions. Yeah, it it's very technical, but then there are certain things where those soft skills,
Mm-hmm.
that I guess emotional IQ to know, like, and that self awareness to realize, okay, I don't know it, but I have to communicate that I don't know it, but I have to be willing to learn. So, would you say that's, am I understanding it correctly?
Yeah, that's completely correct.
Wow,
Yep.
I think
That's
that's really
facts.
dope. Like, those soft skills are really huge. Where it's like, you know, even though I don't know it, but I'm going to connect with someone who does know it. I'm gonna talk to the person who does. I'm gonna be a sponge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you stay curious and you're gonna ask questions. You're not just gonna not just be mute and be silent and just not learn. So I think that's really huge. Would you say that's similar to you too?
Yeah. I always say I'm not a genius. It's just tech is a field where there's so much that you won't know everything, and so you have to be a little bit vulnerable in that sense where, like, hey, I don't know this, but can you teach me this? And then, then from there I can fly on my own, as you will, right? Yeah, definitely agree.
Well, yeah, I think that's something that I think is huge. With, like, I think a lot of people will come and we're thinking we have to know everything.
Mm-mm. Nah,
You think we have to learn everything immediately.
that's just not realistic,
Mm.
and especially in production environments, like there's senior engineers, architects with 10+ years of experience, and do you think they know everything? No. That's why there's things like tier 1 support with your vendor, where they'll come in and they'll be like, do this, 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 and this. And this is to the architect that has 10+ years in that specific environment. So that vulnerability piece of like knowing that, yeah, you're not going to know everything. And it's just, it's just the way tech works. It's just so much out here. So much.
Okay. So I know that you've also kind of been in different positions as
Hmm.
well, from, like, we say, automation,
Yeah.
network engineering,
Hmm.
a little bit of cloud,
Yep. Yep.
back into the cloud.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you've been in a lot of places, and then you've been in a lot of places. I would love for you guys to discuss of why continuous learning matters in what you guys are doing and in the industry, and like why that matters.
I think in general, tech changes every day, right? The products you're using changes every day, process changes every day. Like for example, some companies used to do waterfall, and now we're pivoting to agile, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you always have to keep learning, keep consistent. I think also the more you learn, the more valuable you are, especially
Mm,
when it's so
value.
competitive right now,
Okay,
right?
speak on it.
Yeah, so we're all competing just to keep our jobs or to find another job in a similar industry if we are in a case of anything happens, right? So I think the biggest thing is being able to stand out and always being able to be okay in this field, like you said, is very volatile, right? So
Mm-hmm.
there's no magic 8 ball just to kind of say, yeah, we're good here. So I think it's just always just to keep you on your toes and always stay ready,
Stay ready so you don't have to get ready,
Big
right?
facts, big facts.
pretty
Yeah.
much.
Okay. So like I guess what would you say can make someone valuable?
Mm, I think makes someone valuable. Um, that's a good question because it's going to vary, honestly, with the
Okay.
company skill set wise.
Well, so for you, like with business analyst and product owner, what would someone, how would that, well, what would make that person valuable?
I think understanding agile for one is a big deal because waterfall with that process, let's just say it's an 8 month project and then you have to wait all the way until 8 months just to realize the product's nowhere near done. It's not going to work out. The project is crashing. It's just in status red, right? Versus agile, you're coming in to basically kind of force people to do a different process. We have to give consistent updates and just do things a little bit more differently. So what that does is save money and time, right? Because if a project go from 8 months to now 12 years, that's crazy, right? So we're never going to get this thing out. So I think that's just the biggest thing. It's just all about saving money and time. So I think that answer your other question is how to make yourself valuable is how you're doing that. So essentially, how are you helping that company to meet that goal?
Through using like agile?
Just using agile, but in general, just to stand out, people want to know how your skill sets can contribute to that idea of how to save money and time.
So like, how does your skill sets, like, what do you do to make your skill sets contribute to the where people are like, okay, yeah, she's the type of person we need.
Yeah, so I get your point. So, like, say, for example, if a project only has a budget of $100,000, including the employees, their salary dollars, etc., right? So, if you can get a project done in 6 months, just make it up hypothetically, and you met the 100K budget or less, versus that was a waterfall process, versus if it's agile, and then now it's going to only cost maybe $40,000, and they got it done in 6 months. Just kind of really, it's just all about logistics and how to make that. I don't know if that's making sense.
No, it's making
Okay.
sense. It's making sense. So it's like how to make the logistical process more efficient.
Yeah.
Okay.
That makes sense.
And then for you,
Mm-hmm.
like what would make someone in your position valuable?
I've seen the most valuable people are the ones who know how the environment works. And when I say the environment works, it can be key services within the organization and how to keep that infrastructure up and running. Um, there's a lot of times when stuff breaks, and they're always going to the expert, right? That's the person where, okay, tier one, tier two support didn't help, but we have an architect who knows our environment so well that he can get in, solve it in a snap. And now, going back to Kayla's example, now they're saving the company money from an outage perspective, from a brand perspective, because now they just limit this particular outage because they know this environment so well. They know the different nuances, right, to look for, and that really that makes people someone like in my operationally heavy role, that makes that person very valuable. Knowing those nuances, right? You can't really because each environment is different. So you can't study for a cert for the environment, right? You just have to be able to be curious enough and know how to solve those very specific issues.
So, you've worked with a lot of colleagues,
Mhm.
and you would probably say that there are some that are very like high achievers, and
Yeah,
about what did you see in them that you're like, wow,
yeah, man.
I
We
aspire.
yeah we had this one architect. He worked at Kohl's before joining the bank I previously worked at, and our network was a mess. Right, we had this older guy who retired, and um, I'm going to use some terminology. We had a bunch of static routes in our environment, very manual, nothing dynamic.
Okay.
And this guy came in 2 3 months in, and he cleaned it all up. Like he literally said, "Hey, I'm going to dive deep into this environment, give you all the diagrams, and put this back together in a more efficient manner." And that's really what impressed me because people like that are able to see the bigger picture, especially from a network perspective. You got to know where you are and where you want to go. And when I saw that, it's just like that's the level of expertise I want to have to be able to take a problem like that and to be able to digest it and come up with a solution in an efficient manner. That's tough. That's really tough.
Okay. That's really dope. So, how would you say that continuous learning has helped you in all the positions that you're doing?
I think it's always has led to like another role, if that makes sense. So the CCNA led me to a couple of internships. Um, Things like my EZ 900 and my AWS led me to my previous position where where we had hybrid workflows, right? We had on-prem and we had a cloud presence, and it really has just broadened my knowledge, but gives me that step up to say, hey, if there's another avenue I need to go within the organization, or they have more cloud presence, I can be there, right? Because now I have that knowledge. So it not always it helped like right away, but having that knowledge just allows me to move around either within the organization or outside the organization a lot easier. It gives you, in my opinion, that leverage that when you want that raise or you're down to your knuckles when you lost your job, you have something to say, hey, I have enough expertise to bounce back.
It's awesome. So, I guess kind of to close things off, I would love for like each one of you just to give, I guess, like a personal experience of advice that you would leave to someone who's listening
Mhm.
from the experience that you've had from working at the companies and upskilling and all the university stuff that you all did.
Um, I would say it's okay to not know where exactly you want to be in terms of like a role or a certain department or field, right? I think the biggest thing is just getting into the door and learning what you like and don't like as you go through different roles and continuing to network and connect with different people to maybe learn about other roles that you may not know that doesn't exist because like in school or college, typically they only maybe tell you certain titles or certain areas to go into. But of course, companies are all varying from each other and they expand on even more. So I think the biggest thing is it's okay to not know where you're going, but you will get there. Just be okay to enjoy the journey and learn what you like and don't like as you go.
That's awesome. And then what would you say?
Yeah, I would say own a process within the organization. If you own a process, then you'll be valuable to the organization. Not only valuable, but then you have a sense of, I've taken this product from A to B. And so that's more experience that you have under your belt. And then you can command, that'll just grow your confidence, and you can command more when you start looking for that next jump.
Okay. And another piece of advice for, just balancing like learning and work at the
Mm.
same time. What advice would you give?
I think balancing learning and while being on the job is maybe as you're learning, you understand why you picked that certain path you're on, right? I think sometimes some people just get stuck on maybe it costs this much, maybe it'll guarantee me a job. I think you have to really think about why you picked that path, because to your point, right, it's so volatile, right? So I think it's just important that whatever path you pick, make sure that you stick to it. I think there's a concept of where people get like 20 different certs and they all don't relate to each other at all. So I think it's important to just stick to one path and just focus on that.
Okay. I see. Okay, that's pretty awesome. That's all. I appreciate the knowledge that you all provided into this episode. Look forward to seeing them again. Also, you can find us on Instagram at DevOps Detroit 313. You can also find us on YouTube at DevOps Detroit 313. If you see this on YouTube, make sure you like, subscribe, and comment. So look forward to the next one next month.
Hey.
Thank you.